Well, while it's not a ballot issue, there's plenty of politics at play as Bloomington and Monroe County try to sort out a way to build a new convention center. We're joined now by Holden Absher, who's been following the story. Welcome back, Holden.
Thank you, Joe. And the debate over the Monroe County Convention Center continues 4 years after the food and beverage tax started collecting money for the project. And county commissioners have proposed an official path forward, but city leaders must now decide whether to jump on board. The Monroe County Convention Center is a popular place. It's so popular that it's booked through 2024.
Things are getting kind of back to normal now with groups coming back in, and in a normal year, we'll do about 500 events.
For conferences, the center can host up to 250 people, which includes multiple sizes of rooms and breakout rooms. However, Kopic says she'd like to see the center hold 500 people for conferences. If it hosted 40 of these conferences each year, it could make up to $19 million to $25 million in economic impact.
We're the second most desired location, but we are the smallest convention center in the state.
While Monroe County owns the convention center, the city of Bloomington is sitting on 90% of the money dedicated to its expansion, which is currently about $15 million. The expansion project resurfaced this summer when the city offered to purchase and lead the project, but commissioners didn't think the offer was sufficient. So last month, the city announced it would proceed with or without the county's support. However, just this week, hours before a pre-scheduled intergovernmental meeting, Monroe County commissioners unanimously passed an ordinance to establish a capital improvement board, or CIB. CIB is a mechanism Indiana county governments use to manage large projects.
The idea is you get the politicians out of the process on these big, large-scale projects, and you appoint experts as kind of the managers on the board that would manage the project going forward.
Other convention centers around the state are also managed by CIBs, such as Fort Wayne, Terre Haute, and Indianapolis.
Everything requires compromise, and compromise does not have to be a dirty word. Sometimes you have to give some things up to get the best outcome.
Mayor John Hamilton's administration says it's shocked commissioners approved a CIB Wednesday and that the process lacked transparency and collaboration. Instead, he wants a nonprofit to build and manage the expansion. He even says his administration will unveil details in the coming weeks for a fully integrated facility open by late 2025.
It's been a little frustrating all year not being able to sit down and really talk in detail, and this is another example of a kind of a meeting with an agenda set by others, and it's not an easy place for give and take.
However, Commissioner Penny Githens pushed back to the mayor.
We've offered multiple meetings, Mr. Mayor, and this is the first time you've shown up. So let's stop that.
But not everyone from the city is on the same page. City Council President Susan Sandberg fully supports the CIB and spoke against Mayor Hamilton's proposition.
I don't see it as any kind of disrespect. I quite frankly was a little taken aback by the 501c proposal that, all right, we're done meeting, we're done talking, let's just do it our way. I was very uncomfortable with that. I still am.
The county is against the mayor's proposal because it says nonprofits are not subject to the same open door requirements as a CIB.
If we're going to do this, we should do this in the public eye with a capital improvement board that meets publicly, takes public comment, and has their accounts reviewed by at least one elected body.
Hamilton says the transparency issue can be fixed by creating bylaws that bind the nonprofit through public bodies. However, his office reiterated that the county was not transparent in establishing a CIB, which has been the subject of conversations since 2019.
We've been talking about the Capital Improvement Board. We talked about it at the last meeting. We've talked about it before. This isn't new. This is not new.
Commissioners say they passed the CIB to put a concrete offer on the table and that they're asking both the City Council and Mayor's office to take affirmative action on the proposal by January 1st.
So Holden, we've been covering this for quite a while. It just seems to be back and forth between the county. It's really hard to measure any progress that's happening here. In the meantime, you have President Eric Spoonmore, who's worried about time.
Yeah, absolutely. So the chamber is worried that, we're under the gun and we're in the crosshairs of the legislature here. They are under the assumption that the state legislatures are going to write a bill to sunset the food and beverage tax next year. And in the process, they have two motivations for it. The first would be to hold local governments accountable for not using tax dollars that they promised they would. And the second would be to create a more uniform process across the board. And in doing that, it could limit how counties use this money.
Last time I talked with Mayor Hamilton, it was just a few weeks ago, he said he'd be fine with the commissioners, but he said that they're not just fully invested. So he doesn't want to include them because they're not fully invested in this project. So now here we go. I feel like we're going back and forth again. What's next?
It can feel like a bit of a circle, and if you watch closely, you can feel dizzy at times. And there was talk this week about an enthusiasm gap between the county and the city. And yes, the commissioners, they were skeptical of this project a couple months ago, and they said they've spoken with community members, and they've decided those community members want this to move forward. And so they passed a CIB in the interest of the taxpayers. And now that means the city council and the mayor have 60 days to act on that proposal. But I'm not entirely sure that the mayor is on board with it. He is still hinting at his administration's plans to go their own way. And he even said in the coming weeks there could be an announcement of his nonprofit plan.
All right, Holden, thank you very much.